Across the vast sea of grass known as the Northern Plains, two strong forces will collide in the 1800s to determine the history of the West. The most powerful native people in what will become Nebraska, the Dakotas, and Montana are the Lakotas. White men call them Sioux. The Lakotas call white men Washichus. Lakota holy man Black Elk tells of first hearing of them as a child.
Everyone was saying that the Washichus were coming, and that they were going to take our country and rub us out, and that we should all have to die fighting.
To die in battle is an honor for Lakota warriors. To show their enemies they have no fear, the Lakotas' war cry is, "It's a good day to die." Their new enemy, United States soldiers. Charged with opening the West and protecting settlers, the soldiers care little about Lakotas. One calls them wild beasts. His name is George Armstrong Custer. On a summer day in 1876, Custer and more than 260 U.S. soldiers will hear the shout, "It's a good day to die," at a place Lakotas call the Greasy Grass. On that day, the Lakotas will win the greatest victory by a native people against the U.S. Army at this place the soldiers know as the Little Bighorn. On a cold December afternoon in modern-day South Dakota, members of the Lakota tribe, the people once known as the Teton Sioux, saddle their horses and ride. They ride to remember the great chiefs and warriors of the past, Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse, Red Cloud and Bigfoot. They ride to remember the tragic years after Custer and the Little Bighorn, when the blazing fire of victory quickly turned to ash. Pursued by troops and forced onto reservations, the Lakotas and their friends and allies, the Cheyennes, were told that the only way they could survive was to obliterate all traces of their way of life. They must kill the Indian in them to save the man. But all this brought was misunderstanding, despair, and death.
They want us to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. They don't know that moccasins do not have bootstraps.
Most important, these Lakotas ride to remember men, women, and children who lost their lives at this place more than 100 years ago. A place where all the anguish and distrust came to a flashpoint, and the frontier West was lost for good. Wounded Knee. Legend says the prophet Sweet Medicine voiced a warning to the Cheyenne people here at Bear Butte in South Dakota.
They were told before they ever saw a white person that there was a strange person coming from the east that would take over their lands, take over their customs and their people and their language, and make them forget their ways. They said, how will we know? And he said, well, he'll come from the east and he'll sweep you from the east to the west, to the ocean, to the great waters. They said, well, we'll fight to keep our land. And he said, I'm sorry, but it won't be any use. He felt sorry for them, but he told them that was their fate.
The Cheyennes move west to escape the threat. Their lives become tied to the buffalo. As the great herds disappear, so does a way of life for the Cheyennes. It is a pain and a sadness undiminished by time.
This is not abstract history to me. This is not something that's far away. This is not something that I read in books. This is something that's family history for me. And it's something that I cannot separate from the context of the time in which I live.
August 1862. The Civil War is raging throughout the United States. The eyes of a war-torn nation are riveted on the conflict between the North and South. Meanwhile, hundreds of miles to the northwest, in the new state of Minnesota, another long simmering dispute, this one between the native Dakotas and European newcomers, is about to explode. The words of Dakota Chief Big Eagle.
It began to be whispered about that now would be a good time to go to war with the whites and get back the lands.
The Dakotas have ceded their lands to the U.S. for food that never seems to come. They have seen promised money vanish into the pockets of unscrupulous traders. In 50 years of dealing with the United States, the self-sufficient Dakotas have been reduced to mere beggars.
I can't provide for my family and I have to take handouts. I have to go up to the agency and beg the agent for food. It has to be devastating. It has to be just psychologically devastating.
That devastation simmers to a rage. The Minnesota frontier is about to erupt into one of the bloodiest Indian wars the United States has ever known.
I think that it came down to, I got to defend my homeland. I've got to defend my way of life. I am a Dakota.
In the spring of 1873, newspaper and magazine readers around the world are captivated by amazing news telegraphed from a remote corner of northeastern California. Reporters, photographers, and illustrators have rushed to the scene, hoping to get a glimpse at the extraordinary events unfolding there. The story has many of the elements guaranteed to sell papers. Assassination, treachery, a David and Goliath confrontation of two disproportionate fighting forces. Here in a bleak landscape of volcanic rock, a tiny band of warriors, fewer than 70, is facing off hundreds of American soldiers. And so far, the Indians are winning. They are the Modocs, a Native American people small in number, but mighty in pride, skilled in strategy, and fierce in the defense of their homeland. Florida, 1928. Bulldozers cleared the way for a new highway, US 41, the Tamiami Trail. The road opens an area of Florida that has been virtually inaccessible to most of the state's population for years. The forbidding swamps of the Everglades. In and around these marshes and bogs live remnants of a Native American people who once held at bay the combined might of the United States Army, Navy, and Marines. Thousands of lives and tens of millions of dollars were lost attempting to eradicate them.
The whole intent was to wipe out the Indians totally from the southeast or remove them. If they wouldn't go, they were going to kill them.
But the people of this land, the Seminoles, stood and fought. They waged a hit-and-run guerrilla war unlike anything America had ever before experienced. For the United States, fighting on alien terrain against a determined, elusive foe was a grim foreshadowing of another jungle quagmire. One that would baffle U.S. forces in Southeast Asia more than a century later.
If you corner an alligator or a rattlesnake, they tend to turn around and bite you or fight back for survival. The Seminole Indians were the same way.